Appreciate everybody being here today for this celebration. 100 years for the town of Sparta being incorporated. 1924 right there. So hopefully the rain will hold off here for a little while. Back in the beginning right there, the Allegheny County was formed in 1859. The town of Sparta was formed in 1866. People down in Raleigh told them we had to have a county seat before we become a county. So James Parks, David Landreth, and David Evans donated land to start the town. And of course, the first building that was put up was the courthouse. They had to build a courthouse where they could conduct government business. And some of the people there in the beginning they didn't know what the name of the town was going to be, and some people was wanting to use James Park. They wanted to call the town Parks. But he didn't want that right there, and he asked if he could name it, and he wanted to name it Sparta, after the ancient Greek state. So that's what we got. We got Sparta, North Carolina right here. And, when I was a kid growing up in Sparta right there, a lot of you probably know my dad worked back in the 50s and 60s. My dad worked for the town of Sparta, and he was chief of police. He also was taking care of all the waterworks. He had a pair of coveralls he carried in the back of his car right there, so when he'd have a water leak, he'd go put his coveralls on and he'd get down the ditch and he'd fix the water leak. So things has changed since then, but as I was growing up and I got older, he put me to work. He had me painting. At that time, the town didn't have any street signs. He had me painting the posts for the street signs, and started helping mow the cemetery, and so whatever else he'd find me to do there, so how things come around, here I am, 65 years later, being acting mayor of Sparta. So right now I'd like to introduce Judge Richard Doughton. He's going to tell a little bit about all the ex-mayors of Sparta right there, and turn it over to Richard.
Thank you, Mike. Mike did not tell you everything that his dad did, Dallas Weir. I think he's the only person who's ever been chief of the town police and sheriff all at the same time. He was appointed sheriff when P.C. Collins, or Porter Collins, was killed. While he was on active duty, the only sheriff we've ever had killed on active duty. And I believe Dallas was appointed sheriff at that time. Mr. Mayor Pro Temp and Mayor Pro Temp and Josh Green are here representing the town council, and thank you for inviting me to do this. Former council members, and I know at least one of them, Bill Blevins, is in the hospital and can't be here and wanted to be here, and other honored guests that are in attendance. I'm honored and privileged to be asked to be here today and to at this centennial celebration of our town. It's been my honor to have lived in this great county and town all my life, having grown up on a dairy farm some 5 miles from here on New River. I've known most of the past mayors since 1924, and have been asked briefly to tell you about them. And I'll have to be brief because there's so many of them. But And also, this information that I have about them generally has come from an article that John Miller had his grandson, Micah, do some years ago, that was published in a historical paper that the Genealogical Society did, Micah. And he furnished most of this information. In fact, about all of it. I'm going to be brief because, as I said, there's so many of them. But I served as town attorney, and at one time, and my brother-in-law, Sam Evans, he served as town attorney until he was killed on a bicycle in an accident in 1986. So we've been very familiar with this town and the mayors. All these mayors were some of the most civic-minded people that we had in this county. And Sparta was first incorporated in 1979. And like most North Carolina towns, was incorporated again in 1924 when the state changed the requirements for the incorporation of towns. We had 3 mayors prior to our last incorporation in 1924. And those were William E. Hardin, Andrew J. Carson, and Hugh Kelly Boyer. And they were all leading citizens of our town and county at that time. William E. Hardin was the father of J. Hardin, who many older people in our town remember as from the J. Hardin store that was on North Main Street, where Miss May Doughton worked for years. I know D.W. would remember her and Jay. In fact, I see D.W. sitting out there, and D.W. has done a lot of things for this town, including building a lot of things that are here now that wouldn't be here if it weren't for him, including this stage. He worked tirelessly in getting this stage built some years ago. Andrew J. Carson, along with his uncle Hugh Kelly Boyer, founded the Allegheny Star, forerunner of the Allegheny News. And Hugh Kelly Boyer was a lawyer and later a Methodist minister and co-founder of the Allegheny Star with his nephew Andrew J. Carson. You know, there's not many lawyers that become ministers. A lot of them need to, but very few do. Since 1924, and during our last 100 years, we've had the following mayors, who I'll briefly describe to you. First was Eugene Transeau, who was a politician and cattle farmer here in Sparta and Allegheny County, and who became mayor in 1924. He was a state senator, and the state senator of the Senator's House, located on North Main Street, is named after him, but that's where he lived, he and his wife Laura. Laura was a chief, and she was Laura Cheek, who, in fact, that property was Cheek property on North Main Street. Eugene Transeau was also not only a politician, but he was a cattle farmer, and he owned one of the largest herds of Angus beef cattle in the state at that time. And next was Rush Floyd Krause. He served multiple non-consecutive terms as mayor, as a state legislator, and he was also a state legislator. He was educated at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. He was also in World War I. But he got his law degree from Harvard Law School. He and Senator Sam Ervin went to law school together at Harvard. And if you read any of Sam Ervin's books, like The Country Lawyer, he tells stories about he and Floyd when they were in law school at Harvard. He also served many years prior to his death as Allegheny County attorney. He was instrumental through his long-term friendship with U.S. Senator Sam Ervin in stopping Appalachian Power Company from constructing a hydroelectric power plant on New River, in which it would have flooded a large part of our county. And next was George W. Cheek. Now, he was also a brother to Laura Transu. But he was a native of Allegheny County, an attorney here, who served from 1928 until 1931. And next was Thomas Roy Burgess, commonly known as Doc Burgess, who ran a pharmacy here and who served multiple terms in the 1930s and 2 terms from 1954 until 1958. Alton Wayne Thompson, cashier of the Northwestern Bank, appears to have been appointed mayor when Floyd Krause resigned during the 1930s and 40s, but may have declined the appointment. I've not been able to clarify this for sure, and neither was Micah Miller, who his research is what I used to make this talk. But during that time, we may have been without a mayor for some time. Now, Robert Amos Wagner Jr. owned and ran Farmers Hardware and served as mayor from 1944 until 1946. George Glenn Nichols, the Justice of the Peace here for many years, served 7 terms as mayor from 1946 until 1963. Many of older people like me will remember that when I was growing up in the 50s and 60s, people could get married in one day here. You could get your blood test and get your license and get married the same day. And Glenn, he did a lot of those weddings, and I'll bet, Brian, you and I both, when we were in our teens, witnessed a lot of those marriages, which I don't know are legal or not, but I hadn't been called back on it. You? Robert Amos Wagner Jr., who followed his father in owning and operating Farmers Hardware, was mayor from 1963 until 1968. Charles Columbus Stevens Jr. followed Robert Amos Wagner Jr. Now, he worked for his father in his father's automobile dealership on North Main Street, Cass Stevens Motor Company, and later inherited that dealership, and he served 2 terms as mayor from 1968 until 1972. He also built a hotel that used to exist on North Main Street. He lived across the street, and that dealership was later sold out to George Mack Irvin and Euless Irvin. George Mack served many terms as on the town council here in this county, and that dealership doesn't exist anymore either. But Charles followed Junior Wagner. Now, Andrew Vance Choate, as a farmer and rural mail carrier, served 2 terms as mayor from 1972 until 1976. And he also served in the North Carolina legislature. Margaret Pinky Hayden was the first woman mayor and served 2 terms from 1977 until 1980. She later served as our legislator in the North Carolina House of Representatives. Now, Tommy Sue Wiles followed her and was the 2nd female mayor, and she only served 1 year, having been appointed to finish out Pinky Hayden's term after her election to the House of Representatives. Now, Harley Eugene Gray served from 1981 until May of 1982. Now, he was Allegheny County Extension Agent and later served as district manager for Blue Ridge Electric Membership Corporation. Now, John H. Miller, who passed away earlier this year, was our longest serving mayor, served as mayor from 1982 until 2017. In 2017, in honor of his many years of service to the town, the Town Hall Municipal Building was named in his honor. John was an educator by profession and served as principal at both Piney Creek and Sparta Elementary School. At the time of consolidation in 1967, Piney Creek was combined in, the high school was combined into Allegheny. And John was the principal of Piney Creek that last year, 1967, later moved to the elementary school and finished up his career as an educator there at Sparta Elementary School. John was devoted to this town and county, and was my dear friend as well as a lot of other people here. I just wish John could have lived long enough to have been here for this celebration, because he would have loved to have been here and helped celebrate this county. He did an awful lot of things to help our town and county be what it is. Now, Wes Breniger succeeded John Miller in 2018, but he resigned in the spring of 2024. He was an ex-Marine and served as Master of Ceremonies for many public events in this county. He works for the post office and is a great postal employee and former mayor of this town. Now, Mike Collier, who is serving as Master of Ceremonies here today, has served as Mayor Pro Tem since the resignation of Wes Breniger. And I want to thank him for all he's doing for this town. His daddy, as I said, had to take over as sheriff when Porter Collins was killed, and Wes has had to take it over as Mayor Pro Tem, and I appreciate what you're doing. Now, this presentation by no means is intended to tell you of all the many great things our prior mayors have accomplished. It has been my honor here today to have been able to tell you who they were and a little bit about them. As I said, I've had the honor during my 77 years to have known most of them and to have called many my friend. This ceremony is dedicated to the honored servants of this town who represent all the citizens of the town of Sparta. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge Dalton. I tell you, if you need to know anything about Allegheny County, he's a pretty good historian right here. He knows a lot of stuff. I'd like to bring on now, we got a citation from Governor Hite, and Brian Edwards is going to read that out.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here this afternoon. We are privileged to have a proclamation from Senator Heiss. I will read it as it's been presented. State of North Carolina, 47th Senatorial District of the North Carolina General Assembly commemorates the centennial anniversary of the incorporation of Sparta, North Carolina. Whereas on July 30th, 1924, the Municipal Board of Control for the state of North Carolina met in the office of the Secretary of State. And whereas it appeared to the board that the petition filed for the incorporation of the town of Sparta in Allegheny County in all respects complies with the provisions required by the North Carolina state law. And whereas petitioners have filed with the Municipal Board of Control in 1924 the map of the proposed area to be incorporated, which identified the boundaries as beginning at Little River Bridge in Sparta-Elgin Highway, south 39 degrees, west 80 poles to a stake, north 66 degrees, west 310 poles to a stake, north 40 degrees, west 326 poles to a stake, north 36 degrees, east to a chestnut in Choates Meadow, North 36 degrees, east 80 poles to a stake. North 67 and 1/2 degree, east 336 poles to a stake. South 36 degrees, east 314 poles to a stake. South 39 degrees, west 80 poles to the beginning. In accordance with the map attached to said petition, and whereas in agreement with the 1924 petition, that the following residents and taxpayers of said town shall serve as mayor and commissioners of said town until the next general election. That the number of commissioners of said town shall be 5. That the mayor of the said town, Eugene Transu, and commissioners R.H. Hackler, D.C. Duncan, J.M. Cheek, R.F. Krause, and A.F. Reeves. And whereas today, North Carolina Senate District 47 recognizes the 100th anniversary of the incorporation of the town of Sparta. Now, therefore, it is fitting to commemorate the centennial of the authorization by the Municipal Board of the Control of the great state of North Carolina, and that on July 30th, 1924, the legal and formal creation, what was already a hardy and thriving community, that a town in Allegheny County, being Sparta, where citizens, families, and businesses have contributed and continue to contribute to the quality of life and growth and the well-being that makes Sparta, North Carolina, a great place to live, work, and visit throughout its 100-year history. Signed this day, July 30th, 1924, by Senator Ralph E. Heiss Jr., Senate District 47.
Thank you, Brian. Brian's a good friend of mine there. He was town manager there for several years in the town of Sparta. He's also manager of Allegheny County at one time. Growing up in a small town like Sparta, when I was a young boy there, we had several things in town that we didn't realize what we had until later on in life. But we used to have now it's the Allegheny Jubilee building. And back when I was a kid, you could go to the movies, and they had a double feature. You could, if the movie was good, you could stay there and watch it again. And so I'd stay there lots of times, but the time it led out, it was getting pretty dark. And where we lived, we had to go through this big patch of oak tree woods, and it was dark. No lights. And there was one barbed wire fence right there. I knew where it was. So when I started going home, I would always have to look over my shoulder there, make sure it wasn't nothing going to get me there. And I'd run through them woods, and I'd kind of figured out where that barbed wire fence was so I could clear it. So, that's some of my fond memories of growing up in a small town. I'd like to call on Larry Van Hoos. He's going to read out a little citation from Congress Lady Fox.
How about that? Was that graceful? I'm proud to read this from Representative Fox. I think we can all agree that Sparta is the best town in Allegheny County. Sorry, just a little dad joke there. But anyway, I will read this from Representative Fox honoring our Sparta 100th anniversary. She says, "Good afternoon, everyone. It is my loss not to be able to join you this afternoon for this wonderful centennial celebration of Sparta, a truly special place that we all hold very dear. While Sparta isn't a big town in terms of population, it is a community made up of people who are the best of our state and country. Sparta was founded by godly, patriotic people, and it continues to be populated by such people. From your beautiful ceremonies held on every Memorial Day, to your Independence Day and Christmas parades that celebrate our heritage and patriotism, and everything in between, this town is the best that North Carolina has to offer. Again, it is my loss not to be able to be with you this afternoon. However, I will be back soon, and I'm very confident that your ceremony this afternoon will be enjoyable for all who are fortunate to attend. Happy 100th birthday, Sparta. May God continue to bless you, your families, and the entirety of this magnificent community. Thank you, Representative Fox.
Thank you, Larry. Larry, he's our Chamber of Commerce here in Sparta and doing a great job, helping bring people in. And now we're going to let Mr. Just Summers, he's going to be the spokesman for our Senator Ted Budd. He's going to have a few words to say. Justin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that introduction, and it's an honor and privilege to be here with you today, standing before you on this special occasion to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the town of Sparta. I want to thank all the previous speakers, but especially Judge Dalton here and that history that he brought to life for us here today. That's special and definitely takes a lot of work to be able to do that research and pull those numbers out. Senator Budd sends his regrets that he's not able to be here with you himself. As was mentioned, my name's Justin Summers. I'm a regional director in the Senator's office, and I cover 18 of the best counties in North Carolina and the Western Piedmont and Northern Mountains. So it's an honor and privilege for me to be here with you today. I'd also like just to recognize one of our summer interns that's coming to learn a little bit about the Senate office and how it functions. And that's Simmer. He's with me today, and he's a student at Wake Forest University. So he's taking all of this in and learning how the good folks of Sparta do an occasion upright. Senator Budd took the opportunity last Tuesday to enter into the official congressional record some remarks in celebration of the upcoming day here today on July 30th in the town of Sparta. So this is the congressional record, proceedings and debates of the 118th Congress, second session, volume 170, number 119, Washington, D.C., Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. The United States Senate with the 100th anniversary of Sparta, North Carolina. Madam President, I rise today in celebration of the 100th anniversary of the North Carolina town of Sparta, the seat of Allegheny County, nestled in the picturesque northern Blue Ridge Mountains. Sparta demonstrates the rich heritage of the Appalachian Mountains, which can be seen and felt by residents and visitors alike. This mountain community has a history dating back to 1825, when Bowers Store became the Allegheny County seat. Sparta, named for the iconic Greek city-state, was first incorporated in 1879, and of course, as has been mentioned, due to changes made by the North Carolina General Assembly, a new charter was established, and Sparta was incorporated for a second time in 1924. With a population of just over 1,800 and encompassing 2.4 square miles of Blue Ridge mountain land, family and locally owned companies have dotted the downtown throughout the town's history. Businesses such as the Allegheny News was established in 1889, and in 1949, Sparta was chosen as the second store location for the home improvement giant Lowe's. Madam President, please join me in celebrating 100 years of history, heritage, families, and businesses within the quaint North Carolina town of Sparta. Signed, Ted Budd. And I'd like to present this framed copy of the congressional record to you, Mr. Mayor. Hopefully, next time we visit Town Hall, it'll be hanging there on the wall. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate everybody getting through coming out today, and it looked like the rain is going to hold off. We got a lot of snacks and everything over here underneath the pavilion. I'd like for everybody to get something to eat if they could. And like I say, on behalf of the town council and the staff of the town, we appreciate. I'd like to thank especially there Monica Dolger and Megan Edwards there. They went past their call of duty there and kind of get this thing rounded up. so I thank them so much. So that's the end of our ceremony today, so we appreciate you being here. Thank you.